Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We started the intimacy series. It is intimacy, it is part of the fitrah, it is sex. And we're going to try to be careful with the words that we use. A lot of people are very sensitive when it comes to this topic. We've discussed that in the previous episode. Please check that out to show you how there seems to be some kind of a contradiction or double standard, especially from Muslims in the West. If it's some village somewhere in mashallah, which is protected somewhere in a Muslim country, I can understand people saying, hey, take it easy, But it's interesting when Muslims from Western countries who live in a hypersexualized society tend to consider this topic as taboo. We've also shown that scholars have books of fiqh on these issues, and they've discussed this to a very great detail. Sadly, in English, there are some books, but they're not written by scholars. There's been a couple series done online. You can check it out, like a Garmin. I think there's a book as well. I don't necessarily agree with everything that the speaker or the author says, but we take the good and leave the bad, and we respect each other. So it is a taboo topic, is the issue of the relationship between a male and a female, between husband and a wife. And it starts with, of course, nikah. It is marriage. It has to be. There's the difference between halal and haram is this thing, nikah. So a human being has to satisfy his or her desire, and Allah has given an avenue for that, like food. You have to satisfy your hunger. But there's a difference if you're going to eat halal or haram. Same with the intimate relationship. And that's why the Sahaba, they asked, Ya Rasulullah, are you going to get rewarded for having intimate relationship with your wife? And he said, wouldn't you get punished for doing it in haram? Right? Look at the way the Prophet addresses issues through questions. It's a technique of education. That Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, of course, he is humanity's teacher. So what happened though? Why is sex so important? Why is intimacy so important, especially in the 21st century? And one of the things is, of course, the culture, the media culture where sex has become very popular. Pornography, and if it's not pornography, there are things that are very close to pornography just on normal TV, right? They have different categories. You got pornography, and then you have just like, sexual and erotic, and they have all these different terminology terms. But it's all over. It is all over. So people are being bombarded with this, and it distorts the reality of what this really is. And I will make an argument for that. Now we're gonna have to deal with again what should be and what it actually is in reality, right? So the theory versus what's going on around us, and Islam takes care of both, right? So with regards to like we're being bombarded with a lot of it's a hypersexualized culture. Everywhere you look, you open the news, commercials, wherever it is, throughout the day you'll be exposed to this a lot. So recently I met with one of is a student, a very young student, and he gave me just a statement for me to understand that he knows so much about this topic. And I wasn't shocked. I try to explain to parents that kids do know a lot, but I think it's tough because it's not black and white. There's people in our community who are kind of ignorant about this topic, and they choose to remain ignorant even though they're exposed to the stimuli, but they just don't have the knowledge of what to do and how to deal with it, right? It's not that they don't see it. It's out there. Then there's people who go overboard in looking and educate themselves on this topic and fall into the haram, and they get addicted. And we've seen that both men and women are addicted to pornography. In the Muslim countries also now, this is a huge thing. And of course in the West, it's just we cannot divorce ourselves from the nurturing part of our systems. They nurture us. It's not that it's a good thing, but it does change our perception of life, and we do get affected. So some Muslim men watch porn. Some Muslim men are addicted to sex. Some Muslim men are using prostitutes. Some Muslim men go, even though they might not be gay, but they go to gay type of things, or they use even males, and what are called lady boys. There are certain countries that some Muslim men visit for this purpose, and it's not necessarily that they're homosexual, but it's because these type of people will do a lot more perverted things that maybe their wives or the normal woman that they would marry wouldn't do it. And where is that connected to? You take it back again to what they've seen and what they've been exposed to. I can talk a lot about that because I do I have received a lot of these cases, and I've had to deal with it over the past decade specifically. Things have changed so much. Some women also do that. Some women within the Muslim countries. I'm trying to target the Muslim community. But as for the non-Muslim community, I think you know what's going on, right? But yes, some Muslim women do go to sex shops and they order certain toys because, again, the perception's been changed. Once the mind and the brain is rewired based on what you've been stimulated with, it's very hard to undo that. So yes, there are a lot of sisters who also recur to some of these things. Now, of course, some of you might say, that's not me, a'udhu billah, astaghfirullah. I'm not addressing you, sister or brother. I'm talking about what actually goes on with some people. And this is undeniable. Undeniable. I know 100% that this is correct. I wouldn't say something that I don't know. So it's a problem because there's so much stimuli out there. There's just so much. So some people tend to be ignorant about it. Like, you cannot escape it. You're going to be ignorant, and then you don't know how to deal with it. That's a different story. You choose to be ignorant. A lot of people get shocked when they see or hear about some of these things. And of course, illa ma rahima rabbi, some people are, alhamdulillah, protected depending on where they are in their culture and their countries and so on. And that is the best thing. And I'm going to talk in the next episode about the fitra and the difference between sex and love, and how the two were divorced and so on. But I just wanted to reiterate the fact that it's such a huge issue. And you have Muslims who are exposed to it day and night, especially Western Muslims living in Western countries. And it is a problem because of what they see, because of how they're conditioned, and it distorts the reality of what the intimate relationship be. It causes expectations that are unrealistic sometimes, which are fake because they're based upon fake principles. And what they see, a lot of times these are marketing gimmicks to get people to be addicted to these things and to pay for them and to go for them. But without a doubt, the people who are doing this and are using pornography and the sex industry and the toy industry, they know what they're playing with. For them, it's money. They want to make money. They want to get you hooked, and people get hooked. And the expectations change, and the image of intimacy is distorted. Hence, when people get married, they expecting certain things. Mostly men expecting certain things from women, because men are consumers of these stimuli more than women. However, the balance is tipping. And recently, 2020 statistics have been revealed that the balance is now tipping again. Of course, with the struggle for so-called equal rights amongst the females and the feminist movement, women are now saying, like, what the heck, only men are gonna watch this stuff, and only men are gonna, we're gonna also, So access was more restricted before for women. Women were more shy to walk into a sex store, into a porn shop or anything like that when tapes and magazines were available. Now it's more available with the internet, with their phones and so on. So statistics are showing that it is tipping. So again, it's distorting everything. So in the next episode, I'm going to talk about that distortion, how it affected the fitra, the change in the fitra, and what are the outcomes of that, inshallah. So check it out. Assalamu alaikum.